few years ago, Wayne and the Kings owner, Bruce McNall, bought the world's most valuable baseball card for close to $500,000. Tonight, I'm going to try to tear it up and put it back together, believe it or not.
Don't worry, that was a reprint. Hey, it's Mike. Thanks for tuning back in. It's Friday. Yesterday I did that video. A lot of you really wanted to hear more about the Wayne Gretzky T206 Honus Wagner. Let me turn this a little bit here. There we go. So I did a lot of research. It is a complicated subject, so I'm sure I'm going to get some details wrong. Excuse me for any mistakes I make or any details I leave out, because inevitably there are a lot of details and I can't put all of them in this video. And this is focused only on the Gretzky Wagner. You can find a lot of other details about other Wagners. I'm sure you know by now that it's short printed because they started printing it, and then Wagner got upset because either he wanted more money from being featured in the set, or he didn't want kids buying cigarettes to collect his card. No one really knows for sure as far as I know. Before I get started on this though, go back. If you're new here, I'm giving away this card, PSA 6 Molitor Trammell Rookie. It's 2 videos ago. Today's my 16th day in a row doing a video, so if you're new here, you should subscribe. I'm doing a lot of cool stuff. I think I'm going to do a video every day through the month of December at least, so we'll see. I don't know. That giveaway ends Wednesday, December 7th. I'm also asking for pictures of your personal collection displays to be emailed to me at thejunkwashero@gmail.com. I've already received 7 or 8. So I'm getting close to being able to put together a video. If you haven't yet, please email me some photos of your display. How do you have your personal collection displayed? I've got some really cool ones so far. I'm really excited to do that video. All right, so the T206 Wagner, the Gretzky one, early on was believed to have been altered due to the odd shape of it and odd texture too. Obviously that was before it was graded by PSA when you could actually touch it. It was first sold by Alan Ray to Bill Mastro. And Mastro was a huge figure in the sports memorabilia world, kind of an outsized kind of personality, a lot of swagger, and he owned his own auction house. So he was a big deal. And so Alan Ray sold it to Mastro. 2 years later, Mastro sold it to Jim Copeland. I would like to do a video about Jim Copeland and his collection at some point. That's coming. So Mastro sold it to Copeland after just 2 years for 4 times what he paid for it. He sold it for $114,000. This sale revitalized interest in the sports card market because it was famous. All of a sudden, one card is worth 6 figures. And then, just a couple of years later, in 1991, Wayne Gretzky and Bruce McNall of the Los Angeles Kings bought the card for $451,000. So Copeland made about 4 times his money too. And so it's gone up 4x in a couple of years and then 4x in a couple of years. And that growth is going to stop here, and you're going to see why. So Gretzky and McNall bring the card into PSA. And Bill Hughes is the grader at PSA. This is the very first card graded by PSA in a slab. It's the cert number 1, and Bill Hughes grades it an 8. Later on, Hughes admitted knowing at the time that he graded it that it was altered. Pretty interesting stuff here. So when was it altered? Likely before Gretzky got it. Yeah, actually, we know for a fact it was before Gretzky got it. Alan Ray, for a long time, refused to say where he got the card. And Mastro also kind of lied about its origin. He said he got it from a printer, but Alan Ray was not a printer. So there's a lot of confusion about where the card came from. And then Alan Ray produced a photo that he claimed proved Mastro had altered the card. He said that it showed that it had been trimmed and altered. This is disputed by experts in the hobby that the photo proves it. I'm not really sure. But in 2012, Mastro was indicted for federal fraud. During that case, he pleaded guilty and he admitted that he trimmed it in the mid-1980s, knowing that trimming it, because he was such a big part of the auction world and sports memorabilia world, that trimming it down would make it sell for a lot more money. He did 20 months in prison for this fraud case. So what happened after? As I mentioned in yesterday's video, Gretzky owned it 50% and the other 50% was owned by a bankruptcy trustee. And when a bankruptcy trustee owns something, their goal is to just sell. They don't want to hold on to it. They want to sell it as fast as they can to liquidate their assets. Not always. I know some people are going to get into my comments and say, oh, they want to get as much money as possible. It's true. But they sold it very quickly after that McNall drama happened in 1995 for $500,000. So the profit was almost nothing. They sold it to Walmart and another company called Treat Entertainment so that it could be used as a grand prize in another attempt to revitalize the sports card industry by Walmart. And they did a live drawing on Larry King Weekend, which is a show I don't remember. I remember Larry King Live because it was on for 700 years. But Larry King Weekend did a live drawing, and the card was won by a postal worker in Florida named Patricia Gibbs. And they flew down and they gave it to her, but she wasn't able to afford the taxes due on the prize, so she consigned it to Christie's auction house. And Michael Gidwitz, who had battled with Gretzky and McNall back in 1991 for the card, was able to win this auction in 1996 for $641,000. So Gretzky, just 1 year earlier, sold it for $500,000, and then 96 sells for another 28% higher, $641,000. In 2000, just 4 years later, Gidwitz sold it in an online auction for $1.3 million. 7 years after that, it was sold privately for another $1 million more at $2.35 million. And then just 6 months later, it was sold for another $500,000 more at $2.8 million in a private sale anonymously. And later on, it was found out that that was Ken Kendrick, the owner of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Ken Kendrick could be another subject for another video at some point. The Diamondbacks collection. He has what's believed to be a $100 million collection of sports cards and memorabilia. Really interesting story. But yeah, that's the story of the Gretzky, the very basic story of the Gretzky card. It is altered. It was known it was altered at the time it was graded by PSA. It was admitted in court that it was trimmed, and it's still very, very famous. And I'm curious, what do you think Kendrick could sell this for? Do you think the value of it is lower now because it's known to be trimmed, or is it higher because it's famous? Is it higher because it's the PSA 1, the first PSA card graded? I don't know. I think Kendrick would sell it for a lot. I'm not sure what it would sell for at this point. And I know he's done some interviews about the card. He's probably speculated about what the value is, but yeah, it's a really interesting story here. And I wonder what Gretzky thinks. Does he wish he still had it? That's all. Again, if you're new here, please click on that subscribe button. Got a lot more content coming out. Hope you have a great weekend.